Hey, this video is going to kind of show. I know there's a lot of stuff about Paul going on, and how people have been saying all these um, untrue, inaccurate things about him. And so I want to do this video to Justin for Christian Truthers and anybody who kind of to clear up a lot of the confusion about Paul. Alright, and we're going to read, this is Acts 21, and we're going to read the whole thing in context, you guys, okay? Um, or most of it in context. The next day Paul went to visit with James, and all the elders were present. After greeting them, he gave a detailed account of all God had done among the pagans through his ministry, okay? Paul's ministry, right? They gave glory to God when they heard this, because Paul was saving a lot of pagans. He was bringing the gospel to them and they were getting saved, right? But you see, brother, they said, they're talking to Paul. But you see, brother, how thousands of Jews have now become believers. So he's now talking about Jews. And all of them staunch upholders of the law. Okay? So he's saying now these people that are Jewish, that are follow the law, that's their life pretty much. We're becoming believers, or we're becoming believers. And listen to this. And they have heard that you instruct all Jews living among the pagans to break away from Moses. So they were saying, hey, they're saying, people were saying that Paul is telling all the Jews that oh no, you guys don't worry about the law and you guys don't have to follow it, and it's not, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And that's not accurate, you guys. That's just simply not accurate. And we're going to look at this. I'm going to show you. So we're going to look at what Paul you guys, when you look at all the other readings of Paul, he wasn't saying what he was saying, and correct me if you guys see anything that I don't, but everything that I've seen that Paul's written about the law and to the Jews was all he was saying was that stuff doesn't save you. The law of Moses is not what saves you. It's the circumcision of the heart, right? That was Paul's message, you guys. He wasn't saying that. He was talking to people who thought they were justified by the law, but he never said the law was bad, right? So let's look at else what he's. So they were saying, let's go over this. A lot of people, both pagans and Jews, were becoming believers, and a lot of the Jews were saying or a lot of the Jews were saying, we heard, not we know, not that's what happened, that we heard that you instruct Jews living among the pagans to break away from Moses. Now, what would cause people to make that assumption? Because when they hear something, right? Because they're preconceived, and this keeps a lot of people from understanding things, you guys. Their preconceived notions of what they think somebody is saying, they don't listen to what the person says. And people do this with me quite often, you guys. And they think that my intent or what I'm saying is something different. But Jesus talked about this, you guys. The word talks about this happening. And so people will listen to somebody and they think that they're saying something that they're literally not, because of how they're wired through conditioning and things in their life, in their heart. When your heart is sometimes not, now this doesn't apply to all people who this happens to, but a lot of the times, you guys, when your heart is cold, you hear somebody saying something and then you start hating what they're saying because you don't agree or understand or believe in it. So you start getting angry on the inside of your heart. Your heart starts pumping out all of these chemicals into your blood that make you angry and that are hateful. These are negative things that happen. This is when the spirit, right? the reason why that happened was a spirit of anger or fear, or all these evil spirits of the devil start affecting you physically, and then that in turn produces chemicals in your blood that are not good for you, right? and that'll make you deceived. Okay? And so they said, we heard that you were saying that Paul was saying, oh, you don't have to follow the law, or don't even worry about the law. That's not what he was saying. Let's listen to what Paul said. Authorizing them not to circumcise their children or follow customary practices. What is to be done? Inevitably, there will be a meeting of the whole body, since they are bound to hear that you have come. So do as we suggest. Now, let's look at what they suggest. Okay. So this is what they suggested. We have 4 men who are under a vow. Take these men along and be purified with them, and pay all expenses connected with the shaving of their heads. This will let everyone know there is no truth in the reports they have heard about you, and that you still regularly observe the law. The pagans who have become believers, as we wrote when we told them about our decision. Okay, now this is what is required, you guys. These things, and you have to understand this. This goes to us too. We must abstain from food sacrificed to idols. Okay? Now, that's, if somebody dedicates the food to a different deity, or if with me too, that's foods that have the HEK293, the aborted baby cells in that food. That food is sacrificed to idols too, so we shouldn't eat things like that. I eat Doritos and Pepsi, right? And to abstain from food things sacrificed to idols, from blood. You guys, we're not permitted to eat blood. This is in the New Testament, you guys. This is part of the covenant that we're supposed to, that if you're a first fruits Christian, if you're an elect, you will be keeping this. If you don't know, now you do know, so you can, because there's many blessings from holding this, you guys. We need to be all doing this. Abstaining from food sacrificed to idols, from blood, and from the meat of strangled animals, and from fornication. So you guys, we as new believers, Bible believing, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ following believers, we need to be abstaining from these things. Okay? And really, you guys, when you think about it, these aren't good things to do, It's not a bad thing to not do these things, right? If you think that stuff is okay, then there's something else, a bigger issue, going on. We can't be doing the same thing as the enemy, you guys. The enemy drinks the blood, and we are not to do that, right? We have to be opposite from the enemy. So these men were saying, the bigger thing, you guys, here is Paul wasn't teaching against the law. He was teaching he was rebuking people, you guys, who thought that they were justified by the law. You guys, the disciples followed pretty much all of the law, you guys. They followed these things. Most of the things, right? A lot of things in the law, you guys, are good things to follow, right? It's all a physical symbol of things that go on in the divine realm. The law, most of things in the law are, and obviously we don't stone somebody for, there's things in the law that we don't have to follow now because of Jesus, because of what Jesus Christ did, how amazing his sacrifice is. Keeps it, like, we don't have to, all foods are clean now, right, through Jesus Christ. And so that a lot of the disciples followed many, many, many things of the law. The law was not necessarily bad, and I don't think Paul ever said it's not good to practice the things of the law, right? He was saying, you're not justified by the law. You have to circumcise your heart. That's what his whole message pretty much was in many of the things, but the commandments and things of the law were good things, you guys. Those are good things to do. Like, for instance, it says don't fornicate in the law, right? Is that a bad thing to do? No, it's a good thing. There's just some things that we are not necessarily have to follow anymore. So they were saying like, hey, Paul, you should show people that you regularly do follow the law, so that they can see the truth and stop with these preconceived notions of what they thought that Paul was saying. So then we look down here at the very end of this passage, and it says, so the next day Paul took the men along and was purified with them. So they did a Jewish custom thing of following the law, right? And he visited the temple to give notice of the time when the period of purification would be over, and the offering would have been presented on behalf of each of them. So they were offering something to the Lord. And so you guys, this wasn't a bad thing, that the Jewish custom was. That wasn't a bad thing, but that's not what saved them, right? That's the whole point I'm trying to make, you guys. Paul didn't teach against the law. He taught against people who thought they were so righteous and justified from following the law of Moses. And he taught that we should all follow the 10 Commandments. And we should know this, you guys, just by what Jesus said. Jesus says, if you love me, obey my commandments. All right. So, Justin, brother, I ask you to reconsider, and if you want to reach out and, you can get a hold of me. And I love you, Justin. I'm not, but that's wrong what you are saying. And especially with how many people that you teach, brother, you don't want this written about you, Justin, that you're saying this. That's really not good. So I love you, Justin. I love all you guys, and I'll catch you later.